Thank you for tuning in to another episode of EndZoneBlog.com's The Cross the Middle Show. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys and what they should do in the draft. We're going to talk a little bit about Trevor Lawrence and his situation. We're going to talk a little bit about that article he did with Sports Illustrated. And we're also going to talk about what the 49ers should do at quarterback with the number 3 pick in the draft. So let's actually start with the 49ers, because this seems to be a huge topic. Everyone wants to know what the 49ers are going to do after trading up to the 3rd pick in the NFL draft. There's been a whole lot of speculation that they want Mac Jones, but we also saw the 49ers at Justin Fields' Pro Day, and it seemed like, there was a good connection between Kyle Shanahan and Justin Fields. They were laughing. They were all smiles. You could tell there was a good rapport there, and that's something that you can't undervalue, because when we saw Kyle Shanahan at Mac Jones' Pro Day, Mac Jones was a little inaccurate in that, that throwing session. And there was a little bit of concern on Kyle Shanahan's face. So it's like, are all the analysts wrong? And the 49ers actually want Justin Fields instead of Mac Jones? Or is Kyle Shanahan keeping his cards close to his chest and he actually wants Mac Jones because he feels like Mac Jones is the most pro-ready quarterback, a guy that will just stand in the pocket and trust his arm to beat teams? But the thing is, to me, I noticed Justin Fields when he was the backup at Georgia behind Jake Fromm. He would get on the field sometimes and he would throw these passes that were like 60 and 70 yards downfield, and you're sitting there thinking, hey, I would draft this guy even though he's a freshman. I know you can't draft freshmen. You have to wait, I think, like 3 years until players are out of high school. So it's 3 years after high school, I believe, before they can declare for the NFL. But Justin Fields had this arm talent, even as a freshman, that was like jumping out at you. Like, people don't talk about it, but like Ben Roethlisberger, like a young Ben Roethlisberger, used to just heave that thing downfield. And you were like, oh my God, this guy gives this offense something that most other quarterbacks can't, because he's extending the play downfield with these vertical passes where he just throws it up out in front of his receiver, and then the receiver runs under it. When you have a quarterback that's just throwing 20 yards and under, it's not as effective because you don't really stretch the defense. You don't scare them deep. So what happens is they start to jump the underneath stuff. That's not going to happen with Justin Fields. Justin Fields can air it out. I think he can unlock something in the 49ers offense that they haven't had there, even when Jimmy Garoppolo was healthy. Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo missed that throw in the Super Bowl. Justin Fields would make that throw. So, I don't know. I personally would go with Justin Fields. I believe the body language of Kyle Shanahan kind of tipped us off that he might believe in Justin Fields too, more than he believes in Mac Jones. But you just never know. And then, like I said earlier, we all know that there's been a lot of speculation that the 49ers want Mac Jones. So maybe there is some truth to that speculation. Moving on, we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence went and did an interview with Sports Illustrated, and he talked about how he doesn't have this chip on his shoulder. He talked about how, basically he said some things that maybe, some teens might not like. And there was a lot of people saying, well, if Justin Fields said this or some other quarterback said this, their draft stock would tank. But you see this sometimes with people that are supremely talented. They can cut corners a little bit. And, Trevor Lawrence doesn't necessarily need to do what everyone else is doing because he is more gifted than everyone else. And I don't believe that he doesn't have a burning desire to succeed. I believe he does, or he wouldn't have made it this far. But he doesn't have to have a chip on his shoulder, and he can cut some corners, like motivation-wise, because he's got the talent to make up for it. A perfect example of this is Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra didn't have to rehearse when he was performing at the Madison Square Garden. He could just show up, knock him dead, and then hop on a flight to Palm Springs and go party it up. Why? Because he was supremely talented. And the same thing goes for Trevor Lawrence. He's just so good that, some of that rah-rah stuff, like I got a chip on my shoulder, I got a burning desire, him having to tell us, he doesn't need to do those things because he's so good and he's had so much success throughout his career. There's guys that aren't nearly as talented that have to say, I have a chip on my shoulder, or I'm working constantly in the weight room, doing all the things right. Those guys have to prepare themselves to play at such a high level where, maybe it only takes 80 or 90% from Trevor Lawrence because he's cut from a different cloth. And that's why he's the number one pick. That's why he had such a great run at Clemson. And it actually makes me want Trevor Lawrence more because that there's something different about him. And he came out recently and said he does want to be the best football player he can be, and just kind of clarified what he was trying to say. But, the guy's the number one pick by a wide margin for a reason. There's people throwing around, Zach Wilson might be better than Trevor Lawrence. It's like, come on, dude. Is Zach Wilson even better than Justin Fields? I have my doubts personally, just because the people want to run with that. The people think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the league. They think Tua Tagovailoa is a star. And I have my doubts about both of those players. So, yeah, you can't trust the people. They tend to just follow what they read instead of having, critical thought and, making their own observations and coming to their own conclusions. They just, regurgitate what they hear. So I am 100% comfortable saying Trevor Lawrence is much better than any other player in this entire draft. Not by a little bit, by a lot. And this guy's probably going to be the face of the NFL with Justin Herbert in 5 years. The last topic we have is we're going to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. So everybody knows the Cowboys want Kyle Pitts, but that doesn't mean he's going to be on the board at the 10th spot. So the Cowboys had to have a plan B. And to me, someone that would make a lot of sense is, Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain, when you watch him play, you almost get, Charles Woodson vibes. He's more than just a man coverage or a zone coverage guy. He's a complete football player. If he has to strip the football, he can do that. If he has to make a tackle on a wide receiver that's short of the first down marker, he could do that. I mean, there's just so many different things that this guy can do. And if you're a team like the Dallas Cowboys that's desperate to get some stops, Patrick Surtain is a great place to start. Really good player, played for Nick Saban. We got the right coaching, went against the best competition. An absolute gamer. The Cowboys want Pitts just to give Dak more help because they went all in on Dak. So they got to make sure Dak works out or they're going to be the laughing stock of the entire league. So they want Kyle Pitts to supercharge that offense. They might even go offensive lineman, maybe someone like Slater out of Northwestern, just to make sure Dak is good. But, you had to go defense at some point because that defense was so bad. I would love Christian Barmore from Alabama, just because I think the best defenses start on the defensive line, just because intensity beats extensity every single time. So you have to start in the trenches, and then if you're getting a pass rush, your corners will actually be better because the quarterback's under fire. He's got to get the ball out of his hands quickly, and he makes ill-advised throws. But if everyone thinks that, Surtain is the better prospect, it makes sense to take the better prospect, I guess. And this guy's been really good. Not only that, his dad was a Pro Bowler for the Dolphins, which leads you to believe that Patrick Surtain Jr. is also a can't-miss prospect. So that would probably be a good move for the Cowboys if Kyle Pitts isn't there. I think he can be better than Byron Jones was to the Cowboys just because he won't have to switch positions before he starts to figure things out. So for the Cowboys, it would probably be a good move. We'll see what they do. We'll see if Jerry Jones decides, hey, I got to have Pitts. We got to trade up or whatever they do. But Patrick Surtain, very good football player. I think he would be great for the Dallas Cowboys. And at least that could be the start of something good for that defense because, like I said, they were atrocious last year. They were clearly this team's Achilles heels. And if you score 30 points a game but you give up 40 points, it doesn't mean very much. That's all I got today, though. Check out endzoneblog.com. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. I'm John Kuzma. I'm signing off.